Live on DAZN Worldwide, April 26th, Eubank Junior versus Benn. 30 years of rivalry and hatred.
I do hate him.
All comes down to this. The next generation, a new destroyer. For family, history, legacy. Eubank Junior versus Benn, April 26th. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
This is Charlie Parsons for the Stomping Ground. No, Edward, put that back on now.
Well, what's my fee?
There is no fee, Edward.
What? How on earth? What a weird industry and world.
You're not
where
wrong.
someone of my magnitude, you can just interview as many times as you want during the week, and now, as if that wasn't abusive enough, expect me to have a branded microphone to promote your new platform without any fee.
New platform?
How mad is it, honestly, where you basically rely on me for your platform to work?
Does your ego like that? Because I feel
Not
like you're
really.
a bit conflicted.
I'd rather not do it. But then all of a sudden, it's like a dependent relative. It's like if I let you down, you're out of work. And I think it's true though. Do you imagine if I turned around now and went, right, I'm never doing another Charlie Parsons interview?
What would I do? I mean, arrogantly, I think to some description,
You'd still make it in something. There's
operate.
a Costa Coffee in
Cirencester. Yeah. There's a Linwood coffee shop.
I can see you with a little coffee shop.
I could see myself with a little
Imagine
coffee shop.
Morning. Would you like the
cortado? Would you?
No. Would you like a little cheeky parsonator on the cortado? Oh, and people just walk in and go, I don't know, like whatever. Yeah,
I rate that. I'm here for that. That's what my coffee shop's going to be called, parsonator on a cortado. A couple of things I'd like to bring.
You know,
up.
with your beard, yeah, just like
I bare people been gassing the trim up, by the way.
Oh my god, bare people have been gassing the trim up.
Do you not think this is sick?
Yeah, but do you go like this? Okay, so
peak, innit?
Yeah, but
George has been telling me it'll grow out for years.
What do we think about the line?
Oh, has George had a howler?
Who's George?
My barber and my best pal.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, so I've been doing this new thing where I go shorter under here, yeah, but I blend it on the edges, not me personally, but like, so because it gives you a better jawline. And I think the line is actually giving jawline vibes.
For me?
Yeah, but in
My
reality,
brother.
you don't have that.
No, I do,
So-
obviously. That's why it looks like it's a
No,
jawline.
I think. Yeah,
So George has done a good job. George has given me a jawline.
Shout out to George. What's his barbershop?
It's changed now to SD Barbers.
STD Barbers.
SD.
Oh, SD Barbers. Okay.
SD Barbers.
Took you a while, didn't it? Shout out to SD Barbers in Cirencester.
In Cirencester. Big up George and Shane. They will
Didn't even know
appreciate
people got
that very
trims in
much.
Cirencester.
We've only just discovered electricity, actually. Before that,
okay.
we used candles to light the town. A couple of things I want to bring up before we jump immediate. Edward, put the bloody Stomping Ground thing back on. You're like a disobedient schoolchild. I've just listened to you on Kiss FM, which will be going live, full interview on Friday. A fantastic piece. Why are you so?
Did you actually listen to it?
Yeah. Why are you so effortlessly good at violating people?
I've always been good at that. Yeah. I don't know really. Like,
violate me right now. If
I violate you every
I know,
day.
But say we were at a press conference,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, if we were at a press conference, I would go like this. If you think I am losing to the most cringiest geezer that's ever walked the planet, if you think I'm losing from a man to a man from Cirencester, you got another thing coming. I mean, firstly, you know, you are under the average height of a 11-year-old. Number two, you've got some weird bum fluff on your chin that's now been trying to be got creative by some geezer with an STD barbershop in Cirencester, right? Your clobber is awful, right? You're wearing a pair of Jordans that I think, like, my 12-year-old daughter should wear. In fact, I'll be honest with you, you're actually pathetic. And if you think you're going to come into my realm in that ring and beat me on Saturday night, you got another thing coming, because I will destroy you in the ring. I will destroy your persona, your confidence, your mojo, so that you will not want to walk the streets again. Do you understand me? It's over for you on Saturday night. Everything's over. You will be a walking meme, you little rat.
Thought that was very
Sorry,
good.
yeah.
No, I
Maybe
rated
there's a
that.
lot of anger inside, you know.
Yeah, you're getting into it. This man really.
Not
does
really. I
wanna
love you.
fight.
You're great.
Thanks, Edward. Cheers.
I
You
got
don't
a-
mean that either.
Shalom actually come out last night. There's a lot of the narrative. What's the geezer from Seconds Out called? Who we were doing it? Raheem. He's like, you know, Eddie, I feel like there is a lot of feeling that you kind of like bully Ben Shalom. I'm like, mate, we're just having banter. Like, it's not bullying. It's like we're having banter. He is a strange geezer, and he says things about me. I say things about him, but it's always like, you know, the bigger name is always the one that's, you know, he's a gaslighter, he's a narcissist. No, he's just the main fucking man.
Do you think you are a gaslighter or a narcissist?
I think that every successful person has narcissistic traits.
Fair enough.
And by the way, if you don't have narcissistic traits, you ain't going to be successful, because you have to be a selfish fucker. That is the reality. You have to be extremely driven about what you want to do, what you want to achieve. You can care for other people, don't get me wrong, and that's important. But I have always learned, and I'm not saying it's 100% right, that you have to make sacrifices if you want to get places. And those sacrifices often lead to selfish moves. You know?
Let's talk about Ben Shalom. Did he start shadow boxing and dancing on the stage with you yesterday?
Yeah, well, firstly, he came up to me from behind and gave me a really big hug on the red carpet, which I thought was incredibly
After
strange.
putting out a post to say it was on site, by
Yeah,
the way.
awful post as well. Wasn't it terrible? Right?
When you see that, what goes through your mind?
What, the post? It's just another person using Eddie Hearn's name for clout. I mean, that's what it is, isn't it? Like, I need some following. I need some traction. Let's have a go at Eddie, because that'll do it for me. I mean, we've seen it with Eubank. That's what Eubank's been doing the whole promotion. He's not even talked about Conor Benn. He's fighting him on Saturday. So, you know, like I say, gives you a little twinge, gives you a little tickle of the ball sacks, because people have to use your name and, you know, for that. So he came over, he gave me a hug. And then when we got on...
What did you do when
I
said
thought, what are you
hug?
doing? He's like, come here, you. I was like, what? And then got on the stage, and he was worried that I was going to do the old thing that I do to you with a hand. So he kept saying, like, that, you know, so I just put my hand out. I said, I'm not going to move it. And I should have actually done it, but I didn't. And then I saw him dancing in the ring on Saturday. And I was like, go on, do one of your little dances. And he went, I thought, oh my God, he's done it. And yeah, I actually don't mind Ben Shalom. I think he's a little bit misunderstood. He's definitely snaky, but we're all a little bit snaky. We're promoters. And he's definitely tells unbelievable porcupines. But I actually think he's quite amusing. But I think it's difficult for the public to tell that he's actually quite amusing. Do you get that? Like, I think they just think he's incredibly weird and
Do you
awkward.
think he plays on it at times? Me and Oscar were
Yeah, he's
having
got a strange
chat.
sense of humour. Quite dry. Like, but he's definitely... I said to him, and I'm not being derogatory when I say it, he's pretty strange. But...
On a scale of 1 to like 10, 10 being supremely strange, 1 being not very strange.
I mean, he's not... I've met stranger people, but in boxing, he's very strange. Like, most people are pretty straightforward. Don't get me wrong. They're slippery. They're black and white. But he's like, you know...
Hugging you from behind
Yeah.
on the red carpet type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never heard that from Frank or anything. Or,
No,
you know.
no. How did you did a couple of interviews with him? How did they go?
Good. I like his guy. I think he's amusing. I don't mind him, honestly. Like, and I've got... Before... This is what I'm saying. Before this event... I just thought, what a strange guy. I didn't particularly... It's not say I didn't like him, I just thought... But now I've spent a bit of time with him, I do find him quite amusing. I don't mind his company. Would we do more business together? Yeah, if it suits our fighters and our companies. Like, I'm not sure the correlation between the companies, how similar we are in that world. But I don't mind his company. I think it's quite amusing.
You think his company's amusing?
Yeah.
Probably not what he set out for the company to be.
No, in a
right?
good way. Not his company, not Boxer. No.
As
His,
in like being
yeah,
around
being in
him
his
in
company.
his
Yeah,
company.
no. Look, listen, and I said to him last night, he's got this thing, you know, he does prey off a victim mentality of, I just started out, I built all the, everyone's ganging up on me. I'm like, mate, fucking pull the other one. The reality is, I said to him last night, you did really well. But he likes to play off the fact, well, you just had Matchroom. You know, you just walked straight into it. I said, no, when I went into Matchroom boxing, it was finished. There was no company. There was one employee. There was no fighters. We didn't have any fighters under contract. And what I did was I built the team, I built the company, and more importantly, I got everybody off Sky, and I took the exclusive deal with Sky. That's how we started. Yeah, but you already had a relationship with Sky. I said, yeah, but I had no fighters. We had no boxing business. But I said to him, you did really well because when I left Sky, someone was going to get the gig. And you got it. A lot of people don't understand how you got it. But you did get it. And that, you were up against Top Rank, you were up against all these people.
Wasserman.
And he did, yeah, Wasserman. And he did very well. So I think, listen, it's not easy. You know, you're coming into a new industry. It's an industry full of backstabbing, bravado, ego, and a lot of resilient people. You know, like in the boxing world. People don't let things lie in boxing. Oh. And that's the problem that he's got at the moment with some of his relationships. And I've learned over the years, better to have better relationships with boxing promoters than not, if I'm honest. But there's a little bit of naivety and probably ego from my side.
Everyone's learnt a lot, though. Well, that comes on to my next question. I was going to ask you, from the days of the whole Wardley-Clark situation to being here now where necessarily you hadn't crossed paths, and like you say, yourself and Frank Warren hadn't even crossed paths. His Excellency obviously came around and that changed and the whole scene changed, but compare it to where you were when sort of Benn first come on the scene, or maybe a little bit after, to now. What's the differences?
In what respect?
Benn, the company, dealing with them, yeah.
I mean, they started very fast and they've really struggled to maintain that. You know, like if you think about what they started with, particularly with Brooke Khan and, you know, these other big shows. But the industry's quite tough. It's very expensive. They're yet to have a world champion, male fighter. I haven't really seen them build a fighter yet into that position, but that takes time. Don't forget, when I started, people criticised me. Wow, you know, Hearn hasn't built a world champion yet. I was only been in the game about a year or 2 years. I was like, give me a chance. But he's yet to have a world champion, and probably the jury's still out, if I'm honest. But I think they're doing all right. I mean, look, they've got Eubank. They're involved in this week.
Oscar has just made a good point. Chris Billum-Smith.
Oh yeah. Okay. He was with us. They haven't built. But if you listen to my point, number one, he doesn't have a world champion. True. Number two, he hasn't built a world champion. True. Number three, he did have a world championship fight on his show where he had a world champion once. Yeah. So I forgot about Chris Billum-Smith, but yeah, if you want to count that. But I don't think this isn't like have a pop at Ben Shalom. I think he's done well. I think he's like, you know, I don't know how the business is doing, but it's not easy.
The small matter of Chris Eubank Junior against Conor Benn. We saw the grand arrivals last night. Chris always seems kind of cool, calm, collected. I would use the word nonchalant. Almost stick him anywhere, and I feel like it wouldn't necessarily get to him. Whether that's a bit of a bravado or an act, I don't really know. Conor, I wouldn't say looks like the occasion's getting to him, but I would say he can definitely feel the magnitude and absorb the magnitude.
Two completely different personalities and individuals. Like you say, Eubank is, I think, quite arrogant. He's, you know, just got that face. And then you've got Conor that's very, very emotional, reactive, fired up. You know, like his dad. Like, you've only got to look back at the build-up between their parents in the first fight and second fight. Nigel was like, wanted to tear him to pieces, and Eubank would walk in nice and calm. And they're their father's sons. They're very similar. So a lot will come down to controlling the emotions on Saturday. Like I was just saying in that interview there, you've got a situation where you walk through a tunnel and walk round the pitch at Spurs in front of 65,000 to get into an 18-foot by 18-foot ring to have a fight with another man. Yes.
18-foot by 18-foot. Interesting.
Same as the first fight. That fell through.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
to have a fight, you know, and it's going to be a violent fight, and it's going to be a fight till the other one can't go on anymore, and that's quite daunting, if I'm honest. But that's what they do, and that's where they're comfortable.
Mike Coppinger yesterday in the interviews was talking about Conor moving up 2 weight divisions. When interviewing Chris Eubank Junior, he said, no, well, that's not really the case. Conor's last fight was at 156. He's putting on 4 pounds. I think we can all sit here and know that that's not entirely true. Conor is a natural welterweight.
He had 3 or 4 weeks' notice for those fights. That's why the fight was at 156. I think if he would have had a full camp, we would have made it at 148, 149, maybe 150, because it wasn't, you know, necessarily a major championship fight. So I think Conor, he is a welterweight, but I think he's fine at 154. Like, I don't think he's a tiny 154, but he's a big welterweight, and it'll be interesting to see what he does after. You know, if he wins on Saturday, which I believe he will, he really becomes the biggest star in British boxing. Active right now. I mean, you know, you've got AJ who's coming towards the end of his career, but I just think Conor's got it all. You know, he looks the part, he's a big personality, he fights so ferociously, and if he was to go in there and knock Eubank out on Saturday night, he would put himself in an incredible position. What he does weight-wise will be interesting, because once you move up to 160, he definitely won't stay at 160. No way. But it's just whether he will return at 54 or 47.
That brings me on to my next point. Being up at 160, very rare that fighters have gone up from 147 to 160. Obviously, you make the claim he wouldn't be a small super welterweight, and that's absolutely true. This would be a real big win, bigger than people, massive, I think, give credit for.
I mean, I think the general perception is that it's a 50-50 fight with an edge to Eubank because of the size. I think the betting will reflect that. But the thing is a lot of people talk about Kell Brook against Gennady Golovkin, which was a welterweight moving up to middleweight. Chris Eubank is a million miles away from Gennady Golovkin. Like, I think pound for pound, Conor Benn is the much better fighter than Eubank right now. But it is the weight that makes it a problem, you know. And people talk about the rehydration. The reason that the rehydration is in place is to not make it a seismic mismatch on the night. Like, Conor Benn will come into the ring probably like 162 pound. Eubank will come in at 175 or 180. So Conor will be giving probably over a stone away in the ring. That's a huge amount of weight in boxing. So that's why the hydration clause is there, just to make it fair, really. But the difference is this week, Eubank's going to really struggle to get down to that 160. Not because it's different for him, it's because it's always a struggle. And it's always a struggle for most fighters to make championship weight. But there's a huge edge of being able to fuel yourself in camp and train to full capacity in every session. Like Eubank the last couple of weeks, you really have to bring down your food intake. This week, food intake will be minimal, small liquids. As Wednesday comes, Thursday comes, virtually nothing. Plus your training, you know,
sweating out.
Yeah, and you know that's an edge in some respect. But on the other hand, you're going to be giving a lot of size away in the ring on the night, so it weighs itself up.
Can you believe that he was ever going to fight at 157 pounds?
I don't believe he would have ever made that weight.
You don't?
No. Ever. And he got on the scale, you know, he showed that he was on weight, he was ready. I do not believe in a million years he was ever going to make 157.
Out of curiosity, we know that the penalty if he comes in over on the second day rehydration weigh-in, he's the type of geezer in my mind that would take a fine. Are you able to go into...
I disagree.
Yeah?
I think Eubank loves a pound note.
Yeah, true.
And I just can't see him giving up what is a substantial amount of money to do so.
What made me laugh is someone's asked him about this Neymar thing that Conor keeps going on about, and he didn't deny it. Is there any knowledge to your...
Look, you hear a lot of bullshit, don't you? You hear a lot of stories. I've not mentioned it once because it's nothing to do with boxing. Like, if he's
it's quite a funny sales point that he's taken the fight because he owes Neymar a bit of bread from poker with Dan.
Yeah, but boys. You know, you never know what's true and what's not. But he does play a lot of poker, And when you play with the kind of people that he's playing with, it's almost certain you're going to be a losing player. I've been there. Not at his level of playing, but I've played some decent stakes poker, and I thought I could really play, and I got my arse handed to me. And it's an expensive lesson. And if he's mixing in... See, what they'll do is, those kind of groups of people, they'll lure you in. Oh, Eubank, yeah, come in, yeah. Oh, and you're in there and you're there, and all of a sudden you've got a free suite there, and MGM are giving you that because you're playing the big cash game and blah, blah, blah. Next thing, you've done a couple of mil. But I have no idea if he has or not. But that's, people talk, and I hear the narrative.
Did you speak to Chris at all yesterday, Junior?
No.
And
I've never really, if I'm honest, I've never really spoken to him in my life. I reckon I've had a handful of conversations. No, because I'm 10 years older than him.
But I more mean like in and around when your old man was around and stuff.
No,
like
because I don't think he was born until like a lot of that journey was over, or certainly till he was like, he was very young when I might know. But I think I had one conversation with him once at a Misfits fight, where I think it was KSI against Tommy Fury.
Big prime card.
And he was sitting next to me.
What did he say, Mark?
I went, "You right, mate?" And he went, and I went, "Oh." I said, what do you think of this? He's like, "Yeah, it's good." Yeah. It's like, okay. Yeah, I mean, he's not socially very warm, especially to me. I don't mind the guy. I respect Chris Eubank Junior because I think this is a sport. I mean, firstly, although he fights and I'm a promoter, we still had very successful dads who had big profiles in boxing. And it's very difficult to make a name for yourself beyond just being someone's son. And I think especially what he does, which is boxing, which is much tougher than being a promoter, he's a tough man and a tough kid. And I think you're not really... This is where people get your background and your upbringing mixed up with the desire that you have for something and a passion you have for something. So people think that just because you come from a good background, you can't be a fighter. But people like Conor Benn, particularly in the way he trains harder than any fighter in the gym. Right? Why? He's come from money. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't need boxing. Why? So why does he train harder than everybody else? Why is Eubank Junior more resilient in the ring? Why has he got a better chin? Why is he a tough fucker? Because it's built within you and it means something to you. And that is stronger than any kind of background, just because you might have come from necessarily a different kind of struggle. If you want something so bad enough, that makes you much more dangerous than where you came from, in my opinion. And I see that in myself as well. I don't need the money now. I didn't really need it at the start. You won't find a promoter that works harder than me. Impossible. So why? Because I want it so fucking bad. I want to win so bad. And that's the same for those two. So I respect Chris Eubank Jr. in that respect. And he's, I think they've made some terrible decisions strategically, but he's always come out smelling the roses, because he's fluked his way to, when we were supposed to fight Gennady Golovkin, he was there was nothing for him, and he fluked his way that this thing came up called the World Boxing Super Series, came up, he made a fortune in that, then he fought, James DeGale, then PBC gave him a load of money to fight Korobov, and he pulled out with a dodgy knee after one round.
Yeah.
Then he's fought, Liam Smith twice on pay-per-view, made a few quid. Now he's copping by far the biggest payday of his career. So you got to respect it. Right. Do you know what I mean? So good luck to him. I don't mind it. I'm not as bothered by the slander, you might want to call it, that other promoters are. But it's a very fine line to, on the things he says to how you want to take it. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I wouldn't really go there on him. That's why when people ask me about his dad and stuff like that, it'd be easy for me to fire in, and it's a horrible thing. It's not,
So that's one kind of side that I was thinking yesterday, and I was speaking to some of the guys around Eubank's team that we know, and I have to say, given all the noise, and people are always going to ask him about his old man, but for me and from, I don't know, wider public speculation, obviously he had the tragic loss of his son, and he doesn't, seem at times to be all there, I think, to be completely fair. Chris seems very good at kind of putting two things together, almost like professional life and family life, despite the fact that people keep asking him. Even yesterday at the Grand Arrivals, he said, I will not do this to my father's name, I will not do this for my father's legacy, despite what's going out, which is quite strong. I mean, I can imagine we would struggle. I know how much you idolise Barry. For your old man to come out like that and be able to kind of draw the line between them.
I think it just comes with age and experience. I think Chris is quite cold in that respect. I think, and so was his dad. I think, and that probably like mine as well. We talked about earlier being selfish. My dad's very selfish. That's why he built what he's built. You think that you build that without being selfish or making sacrifices to upset people. That's just what you do. So I think Chris's upbringing was probably not normal in that respect. And he's able to distance himself from that. It'd be very difficult for him. And I don't, I really wanted Senior to be there. Not in the respect of the promotion, but I just think it's a wonderful thing for father and son to experience that together. And I know that for me, like I would, if I was ever involved in something of that size, I'd want my dad there, of course. Do you know what I mean? But life's life. So it is what it is. Hopefully, life's much bigger than the fight on Saturday. Hopefully, his dad should be very proud of him. Very proud of him. And that's why he should be there. But even if he's not, I would be shocked if he wasn't watching. Shocked. And I would be shocked if he wasn't proud of him. How can you not be proud of Junior if you're his dad? He's carved his way into one of the biggest fights in the history of the sport in this country. 65,000 people against Nigel Benn's son. Like this is massive. If you're not going to be there for this fight, you ain't going to be there ever.
They've got to get closer than they did yesterday, right? During the week, are we going to see that?
Yeah, of course. But that's a Rivals. Normally we don't do a face-off at a Rivals, so there won't be a face-off tonight. But tomorrow at the presser will be, and the weigh-in will be very lively, very lively.
Nigel Benn came out and almost made a bit of a plea to Senior and said, like, obviously they did, I suppose, over the last year or two, the kind of meet and greet events together, and the relationship there seems to be okay. Kind of will be, given what's going on. I don't know if there's much contact, but almost pleaded and said, look, just come so we can have a hug after the fight.
Yeah, I just think Nigel, it means so much to Nigel.
Yeah.
I think he struggles to think, how on earth can you not be here? But listen, life happens. Sometimes those things fall apart and timing is not right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if he came. I don't think he will, but, like I said, I hope he does, and even if he doesn't come, I hope he's watching, and I hope he's proud.
Senior said again yesterday that he doesn't think the fight will happen.
Yeah, bizarre. I mean, I watched that Sun interview with Senior and George Groves, I think Wally and a few others. I sometimes find it bizarre that they even allow him to be in that environment, if I'm honest, because it's so, I just don't think it's really... I know you guys love it and it does big numbers and all that kind of stuff, but it's just bizarre.
We've not done anything with
Like he's been saying, he's adamant, the fight's not happening. It's 3 days away. We've sold 65,000 tickets at Spurs. Unless he's got something wacky up his sleeve, which is not good news. But it's just, the fight is happening. Of course it's happening, but I just, I don't know.
Just on that, it is the workout day today. For the last fight, we made it. I suppose, to about the workout. Is there a feeling inside of you?
Not really,
a nervous
because
feeling that you wouldn't normally have?
Not really, because you become pretty cold to it. It is what it is, and God's plan's God's plan and all that, and whatever happens in life, you deal with at the time. But everyone's fired up. This fight's happening on Saturday night, of course it is, and you can expect a great fight, a great occasion, but a great fight as well.
Just very quickly on a couple of Whitaker Cameron antics. Frank Warren slammed Ben Shalom's behaviour after the fight. What did you make of it?
I didn't see his behaviour. What was he referring to?
Just kind of, I think he just went and celebrated in the Eaton's face and kind of just giving it beans a little bit.
Yeah. There was a lot of stick backwards and forwards from both sides, wasn't there?
What's your thing on this? Whitaker obviously done a great job. I think he is star potential. Regardless of people love him or hate him, we're talking about him, which I think in boxing is, one of the best things, to have the casual audience being able to talk about a character like Benn Whitaker, but going and screaming in Grant Smith's face and everything.
Yeah, but Benn Whitaker was under a huge amount of pressure there. I mean, he got unbelievable flack. And, I mean, I was more surprised at his reaction in the post-fight.
What, when he cried?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, you've got to be a little bit more resilient than that. Like, I like the emotion, and I'm pleased for him, and he's a hell of a fighter. But if that affected you so badly, you've got to, hopefully it will give him the strength to deal with that in the future, because that's just the beginning. If you want to be this big star, and if you want to carry yourself with the swag that Benn Whitaker does, which is great, by the way, you're going to be hated. You might be loved, but you might be hated. But don't look for acceptance, and don't look for people to just always pat you on the back, because that ain't coming, So I think that period in his life would have taught him a lot of resilience, and maybe it was a blessing. Maybe that was given to him, that moment, to make him stronger for the future. And it will do. It will make him stronger. But you've got to get over that. You can't. You talk about, how it's very difficult. What people were saying online, mate. You need to get used to that, because the way that he is, and that kind of, although I don't think he is arrogant, that perceived arrogance of how he conducts himself, that's going to come with a huge amount of hate.
Were you shocked at him being booed in his hometown?
No, he's going to be booed. He's going to be booed beyond. So, what do you expect? You can't come out and mug off a fighter with bolo shots and doing all this and everyone's just going to go, oh, this is amazing, we love you, Benn. People look at him and go, I don't like you, you're an arrogant so-and-so. And I don't think he is. I think he's a hell of a fighter. But you see, it's the job of the promoter to expose the true character of Benn Whitaker. He did that himself on Saturday with a great performance and with the emotion he showed at the press conference. But you've got to showcase that no one really knows anything about Benn Whitaker. That's the problem. You're just seeing what he does in the ring. Where's the media? I've never seen any promotion for Benn Whitaker outside of what he does. He should be much bigger than he is. But he has a chance now, and he's a very talented fighter.
Edward, just quickly, I saw an interview, I think you did last night, with Ade, talking about the whole Shakur Stevenson thing. When I read it, I was a little bit surprised, because I saw how close you were at ringside in Atlantic City. And I seem to understand that, it is a 2-fight deal. But have you spoke to Shakur? I mean... Yeah, spoke to him and the team, and with His Excellency yesterday. Very straightforward. We had a 2-fight agreement with His Excellency and Shakur Stevenson, and this is the second fight. Beyond that, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it's my understanding and hope that we represent Shakur for the rest of his career. But after Zepeda, I don't know. That's likely.
Yeah, I do. I think we've got, like you said, I think we've got a great relationship, but it's got to work for everybody. What are we bringing to the table? Just because we get on well. I mean, I got on very well with Canelo Alvarez. Good mates.
You still get on there?
Yeah, of course. But after I didn't have anything for him, what's he going to do? Just stay with me because we get on well and we're mates. So we know what we all agreed, which was 2 fights, and we'll represent him in the best fashion. Beyond that, hopefully we can deliver something after Zepeda that will keep him with Matchroom.
Is that week happening the same week as Usyk Dubois?
I mean, that's one for Frank and George, but I'm sure something will be worked out.
Okay. Just 2 more very quick ones from me. Just for the viewers, obviously, DAZN. Why should they buy this pay-per-view on DAZN?
Because, I mean, look, firstly, because the excitement of this generational fight will be epic on Saturday. Really good undercard as well. But for me, this is a fight that people will ask, where were you when Eubank Juniors fought? Because the 2 fights between the fathers were 2 of the greatest nights British boxing's ever seen, and 2 of the best fights we've ever seen. And you will get another great occasion, but you will get a great fight on Saturday. You will get 2 kids that are fighting for everything. Forget world titles. This is so much more personal to them. This is pride, this is ego, and most importantly, this is family legacy on the line. and they'll both do whatever it takes to win on Saturday night.
And finally from me, it's St George's Day. What does being British mean to you, Eddie? I feel like in this day and age, St George's Day is not really celebrated like your Paddy's Days and stuff like that.
No, it's not. And, some people don't like you celebrating St George's Day, and at the end of the day, we're all very passionate about our country. I think the country has changed a lot over the years, as countries do. And, governments change. I don't think we're in a great place at the moment, if I'm honest. And hopefully we can turn it round, because it is a great country. But there needs to be some big decisions, and there needs to be some strong people making the right decisions to make the changes, rather than fanny around and say they're going to do something and actually don't do anything about it. Everybody can see the problems that the country is facing, yet still people don't have the balls to stand up and do something about it. Happy St George's Day.
And with that, we finish on a UK quickfire questions. Cup of tea or a cup of coffee?
I mean, for me, it's coffee all day long. But obviously, tea is our tradition. I just think tea's like, other than dipping a rich
Boring,
tea in a cup of tea, not really a fan.
Little chamomile number sometimes?
No, definitely not.
Pie mash and liquor or a full English breakfast?
Oh, pie mash and liquor.
Never had it,
Who?
Pie mash and liquor.
You. We'll go for a pie mash and liquor.
A pint of Guinness or a pint of Stella?
I actually like a Guinness.
Good man.
Prefer a forged Irish stout.
Stone Island or CP Company?
Stone Island. Although I do have a couple of Rascal CP numbers.
Do you?
Yeah. It's a little bit low key, isn't it? But
I like the CP.
Yeah.
Fish and chips or roast dinner?
Roast dinner.
EastEnders or Coronation Street?
EastEnders.
I knew you'd say that. Love Island or Big Brother?
Probably Love Island.
Cirencester or Brentwood?
Brentwood, of course.
And finally, Chris Eubank Junior or Conor Benn?
Conor Benn all day long. Don't miss it.
Edward, thank you very much for your time as always. Don't leave me hanging like you always do. I'm going to put my hand out on camera. Don't do a Ben Shalom to me. Bang. Cheers, mate.
Live on DAZN Worldwide, April 26th, Eubank Junior versus Benn. 30 years of rivalry and hatred.
I do hate him.
All comes down to this. The next generation, a new destroyer. For family, history, legacy. Eubank Junior versus Benn, April 26th. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.